Welcome to the Pretty Sister Podcast. We're so glad to have you here. This is such an exciting day. This is part 2 of our Johnny Covey coaching series that we're bringing to you, all as a part of going head to heart, getting out of your head where you're stuck and into your heart where you're moving forward with purpose and passion. So we are so excited to have Johnny. I'm going to just bring him in live with us. Hopefully he'll be popping in with us in just a second. And meanwhile, as we wait for Johnny to join, I'm going to introduce you to Robin Towle, who is our other guest. Oh, here we go. We do have Johnny. Just yay. Fantastic. So excited to have you both. I was just introducing our other guest, Robin Towle, who is a dear friend of mine. Such a beautiful, pretty sister. Love her to pieces. And she's an amazing individual. She is a former Mrs. International in 2019, yes, Mrs. Utah in 2018, and since then has been traveling the world, helping women and working in so many different causes that it's just almost too many to name. So she's out there doing good. And we share this passion of wanting to help women, specifically our pretty sisters who we love and want to help you to realize your purpose and to build confidence and to know how wonderful and beautiful and special you are. So that's why we're here today, is to just join in with you, join hands and build each other up as we build this pretty sister community. And so I'm so grateful that you are willing to do this with me. I couldn't have asked for a better person and friend to join along. And Johnny is so great to be offering this free coaching to all of you for 6 weeks as we learn each week, going a little bit deeper in his head-to-heart process, helping everybody to get unstuck. He has a book that he wrote. He's a best-selling author and coach and mentor and speaker, and so it's wonderful that he's here today. So we're going to get real and raw and have a wonderful conversation as live. You get to follow along as Johnny is coaching Robin and me. We're here together. We're having a fun, pretty sister chat and conversation, and we're going to get right to it. So to get started, I'm going to actually turn the time over to Johnny, because at the beginning of each of these, we're going to have him just teach us a little bit about the topic, about what he does and how this is going to work, so that we're learning each week as we move forward in this. So Johnny, go ahead and give us some insights.
I'm so excited to hang out with you, Robin. When she told me about you and all the work you're doing with, suicide prevention and foster care. I've been a foster parent to teenage girls who are now grown and have grandbabies. So anyways, that's near and dear to my heart. And here's what we're going to do. Real quick summary and talk through. We do what we do because of our experience. Our experiences are what we think, what we feel, and then what we do. We have an experience, and then we have a way of thinking, feeling, doing. And usually, there's 2 primary operating systems where we have these experiences. One is our head, where we protect. When you think of our head, think protect, think fight or flight, think making sure I survive, right? And we all go to our head. It's so normal. And when I go to the operating system, if there's real danger or something needs to change like this, then, yes, I want to be in my head. Head is not bad, but if we live in our head and that operating system is really running everything, our experiences, what we think, feel, and do are about protection. Now, our heart is all about progress. So when we're ready to progress, we need to get into our heart. And when we're in our heart, there's all kinds of studies about the heart and how amazing it is. It's like a second brain and all communication, but we're also using our left and right hemispheres of our brain. That's what makes us different from animals. We can think, we can choose. And that's the key about being in this process, is choice. Mm-hmm. How do I choose? When I'm having an experience I don't want to have, how do I choose? Because in my heart, I progress, I feel worthy, I feel accepted. And when I'm in my head, I feel wrong and alone. So throughout this process, we'll just pick an experience. Hey, I'm in my head, I'm feeling wrong and alone, I'm protecting. Let's go to my heart so I can progress, so I can feel worthy and accepted. Now, we all have areas where we feel not, we don't feel of worth, or we're not accepting our best or the best of others. We're not present to what we're experiencing, and that's totally normal. And we're going to go through that process. The key to this process, though, is we actually need to rebel against the unhealthy ideas, experiences, beliefs that we've had previously. And it's so easy to be like, oh, it's so comfortable to just kind of live and do this thing that I've been always doing my whole life, and this is what I'm used to, versus rebelling and saying, you know what? I get to choose something different. And we do that by listening to our conscience. When are aligned with our conscience, that's when we heal, when we move forward, when we progress. So we use our head to protect, heart to progress. And really all of this is listening to our conscience. Our body heals us physically. Our conscience heals us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we're going to find experiences where we're breaking 3 commitments to our conscience, and we're going to keep those commitments and progress. They are to be respectful to ourselves and others, be your best and accept your best, and be present. Now, we'll go over this in depth. You don't need to remember all that or understand all of that. Just know that no matter what you've experienced previously, no matter how traumatic it is, by using this process, you'll understand what the experience meant. If you had a traumatic experience where someone was terrible to you, abusive, whatever it may be, or just something small where you got in your head for a long period of time, when you understand what that experience is really telling you, not that you're broken, something's wrong with you, but that you are of worth and your best is accepted, then you can choose a new experience. It's like our 5 senses protect us and progress us. You know, our conscience is also doing the same thing. It's protecting us and progressing us, but we need to understand it. So if you haven't understood what you're experiencing, that's okay. We're gonna go through the process, and I'm so grateful for you, Robin, to join us and say, hey, let's dive in and experience this and see where it takes us, because really I'm kind of leading the conversation, but it's really our conscience that does all the heavy lifting. So there we go.
I love that. Thank you for that summary, Johnny. I think it's helpful for all of our listeners to be able to catch up where we're at and what we're talking about. And particularly, I love, Robin, that you're here, because she's somebody who I've admired for years. We've been friends for a long time. And she is somebody who actually, I believe, is really good at all of these things that you just said, that she does listen to her conscience, and that she also is somebody who, with a lot of courage and bravery, moves forward, just jumping in, to impact and to help others. And I feel like, especially one of the reasons I wanted to bring her on as a guest is because if we can get a window into your thought process and and just have you share share some of your insights of how you do move forward and are so aligned, I believe, in your conscience. And of course, we all can perfect, and we work on this, and I'm sure you get stuck too, and we're going to talk about that. But you guys, she's a great mentor and somebody who it does this really well. And so if we can learn some of your insights today, I think it'll be fantastic, because it will help all of us to be living more in alignment with who we are and in our purpose, and how we can get out there and help and impact others with that courage without holding back, because she's somebody who gives me courage to do this. Even her coming on today gives me courage to speak up and to help others. So thank you for that. You're welcome.
Awesome. I love that. And when you said that, Callie, one thing I wanted to add to what I was saying, which is our head is telling us to change. When you realize when you're in your head, all the message is saying change. And the message is through our feelings. Our conscience sends messages through our feelings and letting us know either change. Hey, you're in your head, change. Now, you could be like really needing to protect yourself and change and get out of here. This to survive. Like, yes, that is. But most of the time it's like change. You are having thoughts that are unhealthy, that are not aligned with who you are, and change. Or
We paused for a second.
okay, is that back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I appreciate you, Robin, having the courage to come on, and let's talk through. We could go a few different directions here, so let's brainstorm exactly where to go and what that looks like. And let me ask a couple questions first. So, Robin, what have you? Is this the first time you've seen any or heard anything of mine, or have you had any experience with anything of mine? Okay, perfect.
It's my first time. Yes.
Perfect. Then I'll start at that level. So what we'll do is we'll pick an experience where you're like, okay, this could be something we want to just break down. Because when you break down and recognize, I had this experience and this is what happened, it might be experience where you're already in your heart. That's fine. Or it might be one where you're like, I'm in my head. I know I want to do this. I want to go this direction, but I'm not sure why I'm not. So whatever, either one of those, and then we'll take that experience and we'll break it down to recognize, okay, what's your head telling you? What's your heart telling you? Why is it? Where is it coming from? And try to listen to our conscience to guide us through that process so that it's understandable what's happening and it's repeatable, right? Okay, Like, I did it in this time, I can do it again. And as someone who's doing all these things and focuses on, moving things forward, you do this process. We all do this process. Whatever level we're at, we're all going from our head to our heart. We're doing this, and let's get present so that we can understand it. And then everybody who's listening can say, oh, I have done that before. I've experienced that before. And to share an experience, it doesn't have to be because it's a 10. Sometimes we get in that like, oh, I don't want to share about being in my head because it sounds like it must be so terrible. Like if I'm in my head to my wife, which I get in my head all the time, it's not because like I hate her and it's my life is the worst. It's just like, no, I'm just in my head right now. That's totally normal. And we work through it and process it. So, okay. So Robin, let's pick an experience where you have either previously been in your head, and let's break it down and understand how you went from your head to your heart, or you're so like, hey, there's this thing I'm wanting to do and accomplish. And let's talk through how to get there, how to move it forward. It could be anything from like just something great, which is like, yes, I'm wanting to do and expand what I'm doing with suicide prevention and I feel stuck or whatever. Or it could be like, I am in my head about, I don't know, anything like, oh, I have this thought about myself. Or anyway, so that's a lot, but any thoughts or any experiences come up pop up in your brain of like, hey, let's look and explore something. Let's explore this.
Okay. So I'm not sure this aligns, but if it not, we can pick something else.
Perfect.
But it's what I came here thinking. I've actually been to therapy and I've asked the therapist, can you please help me with this? And she told me that nothing was wrong with me. And I'm like, there is something wrong. I came here for answers, not validation. I need
Yeah.
help. So I think probably one of the things that's in my thought process that is not as healthy is that I feel unsupported. I feel a lot like a lone wolf. I feel in my life always, I have never asked neighbors to help me babysit hardly ever. I've never shared babysitting responsibilities. I've always paid people. I've always paid people to help me, paid people to, whatever I needed to do. I have not felt like I have a tribe, if that makes sense. Like I sort of live my life alone. And I guess the thought process that's probably unhealthy is that I am unsupported. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah.
like, if I had a baby shower, like, I have a lot of friends, acquaintances, friends, but if I had a baby shower for one of my daughter-in-laws, I don't know that anyone would feel obligated to come. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have your friend group, and they're gonna rally behind you and be there for you. But for me, a lot of times I feel like I don't even know if anybody's gonna show up. I'm so glad that you brought this up because I feel like this is what's missing for a lot of women is that sense of community in a tribe. And it's something that I have felt has been such a gift in my life when I do have my sisters and pretty sisters friends. I mean, that's kind of what this whole word to me means is that it's those people that you're looking for. It's the people that are going to be there and show up to the shower and show up to things. And when you have those people, you guys, it's such a gift. But we keep ourselves from having it because, like, knowing that you just said that, I feel like, well, I would show up for you or I want to show up for you. Yeah. So it's like, what is blocking from creating that kind of connection that I think when we have those connections, it's a deal breaker. It makes all the difference in the world when we have them. Yeah. I think that whenever you feel, when you're really busy and you do a lot of things like hiking groups or walking groups that I, take time to build those relationships with. And I think that's one thing. And I think another thing is, I know a lot of people, and I think a lot of people probably assume that, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be my assumption is that you've got it all together. I mean, look at this woman and all the things she's doing. The assumption would be like you're set. You got everything you need.
Yeah. That makes First of all, I love that you brought like this is like amazing. First of all, it is so real and so I love how you shared it, which is like here's what I'm experiencing, and my guess is that lots of people watching this feel the same way, but it's not something we talk about. you know, especially someone like you, who you're like, you're doing charity work, you're doing all these things, you're, you know, it's like, oh, but like, oh wait, you? No, like that's, you know, it's only people who are, you know, struggling in every search, you know, like things are just terrible. No, no, like we feel alone, we feel disconnected, we feel like we don't have support. So I think it's awesome. This is a perfect thing to talk through. And my thought is there's kind of two aspects to talk through, and we'll see kind of where it takes us. But the first is, let's go through this head-to-heart process so that regardless of what anyone else does, if anybody else changes or if anyone else supports you or not, I want you to walk away saying, I know how to go from feeling wrong or alone. And those are the two, you know, the way you described it might be a little bit different language, but when I'm going to talking about head to heart, I'm always going back to, okay, I feel wrong when I have thoughts that are disrespectful towards myself or others. Something's wrong with me, like, you know, why don't people support me? Or something's wrong with other people. And I feel alone when I don't accept my best and the best of others. And so those are the two commitments. And so we're going to look at, how do I feel wrong and alone? And how do I go from feeling wrong and alone to feel worthy and accepted? And you do that by the third commitment, which is be present. So let's go through, and the goal is that by the time we're done today, you at least understand, okay, here's the process to where when I'm feeling this, I can understand what I'm feeling. My feelings are a message from my conscience telling me to change something because I'm having thoughts that aren't aligned with the three commitments, that are aligned with my conscience. Now, it might be they're not aligned because other people are doing things that make it very difficult to be aligned. Totally makes sense. But how can I feel worthy, accepted? And let's, you know, the focus, I'd say what you shared talks about both of those. Worthy of worth for people to connect and you know, help me and support me, and accepted, or you know, in other words, the opposite of accepted is alone. Like, I don't feel supported, all that stuff. So let's take this through the process of going from our head to our heart so you understand it. And I'm committed that, you know, like, I love that you said, I talked to a therapist and she's like, like I'm committed that off this call, like, let's make sure that you go through this process enough. If you're willing, I'm willing to make sure where you dive to the deep and find out where is this all coming from. And so you have a new experience. But I shared a lot there.
Talk about my childhood on here.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. But, and the cool thing about this process is you can share your experience without it being, going through this process without being like, you know, this happened by this person. You can just say, I had an experience where someone was disrespectful to me. I don't know if that's, you know, one of your kids was just mean to you this morning, or if it's deep, you know, childhood trauma. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to talk through this. And so that's what I'm saying, where whether it be, you know, how far we get on this call, I want to know that you have I'm here to support, to make sure that you can have a new experience with this. You can experience it. So I talked about that's the internal stuff. The external stuff, we might get to that a little bit, but to look at, okay, what does that look like? And what are some ideas or strategies to make that different? Or what are possible people's experience around that? But let's focus mostly on the internal. So,
well, and I love, Johnny, that you're committed to change. Like, I don't know if you see the passion in him. Like, he's like, we're going to get to this, you know, whether it's
I'm not leaving you.
Yeah. He's somebody who's committed to helping people. It's why we've all found each other and why we're here today. So
totally.
thank you, Johnny.
I think sometimes your belief system actually brings it to actuality too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I want to overcome, is why I have this belief system, so I can get rid of it, so it's not perpetrating in my life, you know.
Totally. And I think the key is recognizing what's the pattern and having a framework or tool so that you can do it over and over and over, right? So we'll focus on something in the present, something, it doesn't need to be super deep, but it will kind of show us the pattern, so that, and that, like I said, I'm committed to support you beyond this so that you can look at, where did this originate? Because it's originated as a child, right? Like, we have the things, the deep thoughts and feelings that we have an experience that doesn't have to be super crazy terrible. It might just be something very simple, but then we have this thought pattern and then we kind of cling on to it and then we build onto it. So let's pick one in the
child.
No,
You're not. Okay,
I'm a middle child. That
child.
explains a lot.
So any questions before we move forward, or anything else that you hear from what I've been sharing? Okay,
We're good.
So I want you to pick an experience, just recently where you felt this. It doesn't have to be crazy. And once again, you don't have to say it was when my, so and so did this to me. But I want you to know what the experience is. And so that, and like I said, we don't need to know the specifics, but okay, this is a recent experience where I've felt that I felt this, that I've had this happen. And let's take it from that one experience from your head to your heart. Can you think of a recent time this has happened?
Okay. Well, I don't know, how deep do we want to get?
As deep as you want to go and
I,
as much as you want to
well, I
share.
have two examples, but one I don't really feel that way because I've been working on it. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit better about it. So I'll share two and you can choose. Okay. So when I was Mrs. International, when I was crowned, um, there was also a miss and a teen who were crowned and a preteen at the same time. So one of the girls got like a key to the city. Another one, they had a whole hometown parade when she came home.
Yeah.
And I came home and I had, I just
Yeah.
felt like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
it was nothing,
Yeah.
And so that's one situation. And then the other situation, I'm getting ready to be a regent for Daughters of American Revolution. And I have had support, which has been beautiful because it's like a sisterhood, your daughters.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty daughter, pretty sisters.
Yes,
Yeah. So, anyway, but I have had some support with that, which has been beautiful. But I've had a lot of fear going into
Mm.
it because and in some senses, I haven't had support. But I have had fear going into it that I wouldn't have
Yeah.
the support I needed to be able to accomplish because it's a pretty big undertaking.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Those are both great. Those are both great. Do you do you feel one more strongly than the other, or which one has the most emotion behind it?
I have a lot of emotions.
Good.
here at the end. Just
So
a
you
lot of
can
emotions.
just choose.
Let's.
My I have a little granddaughter who's 2, and my daughter-in-law says she has lots of feelings. I'm
Yes.
like, I know where
Yes.
she gets that from.
Love it. Well,
So
and
we're normal. We're normal.
here's one thing I want you to walk away from with this is that your feelings, your emotions are message. You strongly receive messages from your conscience telling you to change or have courage, and that's amazing. Like how cool is that you strongly get these messages, and because you are willing, you will be even at another level, which you already have been, choose a new experience, process the emotions, work through the emotions, feel those emotions, and not be scared of them. Because part of this process is like, oh, sadness, anger, frustration, those are all bad. And I only want good. No, like I want to feel all the emotions because they're message. I want to, what's the message I'm receiving right now? Let's do
I have a
the,
better one.
yeah.
I just thought of the best one.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm launching my clothing
Yeah.
line. Now, when I launch it, I think, okay, if I have a launch party, is anyone going to come? Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
I put so much work into this, like I put blood, sweat, and literal tears
Yeah.
into creating this line, and I think if I had a launch party, would anyone come?
Yeah. Great. Let's do
I
that
would
one.
come.
Okay. That one's coming up. Now, honestly, we might have time to do snapshots on some of the other ones, but like a quick kind of here we go. But let's talk about that.
Okay.
So that's the experience. I'm preparing for a launch party. What is the specific thought that you have from your head? So when we're in our head, we're protecting. Our thoughts are not respectful about ourselves or other people. We're not accepting our best or the best of others. That's why we're in our head. That's why we're protecting. What are you thinking? What, and you kind of shared a little bit right there. Will anybody show up?
Yeah.
What
I
else?
don't like to hound
Yeah.
people. Like I don't pressure a lot. I have in my life. Like when my first 3 children, I pressured them to
Yeah.
death, and they don't know what happened to their mother because the last 3 they don't get any pressure.
Yeah.
We learn and grow in our parenting, don't we?
Yeah, but I don't like the pressure. Like if I feel like somebody is busy or it's just going to add extra stress to them or whatever. Like I don't ever want to put pressure on someone. Even people who work for me, I'm like, oh, well, you like I have a babysitter who'll come and take my daughter to early morning cheer so I don't have to get up at 6:30. And she'll ask me, "Do you want me to take her?" And I go, "Well, do you want to sleep in?" Like I don't yes, I don't want to get up at 6:30 and take her, but I don't want you to have to wake up so
Yeah.
I don't have to, you know? And so
Yeah.
like I don't like putting pressure on people. So I guess that would be my main thought is I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone and put the screw to people and say, or you know, like twist their arm.
Or that's the thought is that you're having, that it would be twisting their arm. To you, it's a big deal, versus what you're not realizing is to ask somebody to be a part of it would be actually an honor, right? Like to me, as a friend, to help you do a launch party would be an honor. It's not,
Well, you're hired.
but you know, it would be fun to join in. But you're thinking it's going to be, you're assuming that people don't want to help you.
Yeah. So the thought is, let's look at some of the thoughts, but, and I never want to, if ever I say a thought or say something that, oh no, it's not that, you got to tell me, but I try to, you say it all this stuff, I'm going to try to break it down to, so one thought is, um, I'm going to have to twist people's arm. I'm going to have to force them to do things they don't want to do. Or I'm going to, you know, like, I don't know the exact thought, but it's around this, like, I don't want to. And if I do this, if I ask them, then it's going to be bad for them. And this, all these different, like I don't want to put pressure on them because I did that before and that didn't work, you know? So what are any specific thoughts around that? Like
I
I've
think
thrown out some,
it's more about me
yeah,
personally, and it's more like I wish people just wanted to come because they felt close to me, not because I had to like beg them to come
yeah,
so that I had to show up, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And let me ask this. What what is the thought about yourself? Is there any thoughts about I must be this way, or about yourself because you're like, people don't show up for me, so therefore I am, or people see me as, or any head thoughts
Yeah,
around that?
I think I just am a type A personality, you know, like I push hard and I do a lot independently. I'm very independent and I'm very driven and I don't know how that's always received, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's like in my core and I can't help who I am, you know, so it's really hard because, you know, I'm not, I don't know, this laid back person. I'm like pretty driven,
Yeah.
Which is why
Okay.
you've accomplished so much. You know, it's led
Totally.
you to so many wonderful things.
Yes. So tell me if this makes sense, because we're really trying to, there's a lot of things we could hit and just take you through a snapshot, right?
okay,
Let me do a quick example of, this is not the depth, but I want you to get, we're exploring right now to figure out what's going on, and it's not
therapy.
good. well, well,
Right.
therapy,
Live.
yeah, we're working through, but we're really trying to get down to, okay, where's this coming from? Because, for example, let me just take I'll just pick something we've said and I'll take it through a quick snapshot,
Okay.
right? Just to give us an example so you can kind of visualize what we're doing. But we're trying to get a little deeper as we keep going, because you're willing. I keep hearing that. You're like, yeah, I think, wait, it's actually a little bit more, like you're going deeper. So it's like, let's keep going. But let me take just a very, a thought that one of them, and I'll take you through the snapshot. So not being respectful or my best, I think, um, like, I'm going to have to twist somebody's arm. I don't want to. I want them to come for them. I'm going to have to twist their arm. So when I have that thought, what I feel, I feel wrong and alone. So I feel that I feel, people don't want to support me. I have to make them support me if I'm going to, and I got to use my type A to make it happen. So what do? I either use my type A and I just move it down. I make it happen. Push the project forward no matter what. And that doesn't feel good. Or I'm just going to do this new pattern, which is like, I'm just gonna not invite them, not even ask about it, because I don't want to force them. Does that sound accurate at all at some level?
I think so. And I'm going to just say, especially because you made the comment to me the other day that you were so exhausted because this launch has been so tiring. It's been so hard. And now I understand why, because she's doing it all alone, or
I am.
and whether you
And I've been telling people I'm alone and I need some help.
yeah, and you've probably been paying people. I know you have some great talent. You brought in,
and I do have some really sweet people who are helping, and I don't want to discount the people who are showing up, because they are showing up.
But
People
here's the thing.
but it's a lot of work.
Even with the models and the like all the talent that you have, which it's a big production, so you definitely have people helping. You don't feel supported. So that we could have all the help in the world that we're paying, but until we get to this heart process and feel supported, you could have all the help in the world, and you're not gonna. It won't. You're still gonna be tired and exhausted, and feeling like this, like you're pushing this boulder uphill alone.
Yeah,
you know.
I do feel that way.
So,
I feel like that, but I do, like when I look at it, like you're saying, I do have support, like my best friend, and Joanne. None of this has anything to do with this, okay? She's always there for me, and like she flew out for Fashion Week. She flew out and helped me all weekend for Fashion Week. She is always, if she can be there for me, she is there for me. So, and then I have a girl who has a full-time job who is helping me start the business side and is working for me, and she has a new baby. Like, I have people who support me. It's a huge undertaking, and I've been a stay-at-home mom, and I do a lot, but I've never launched a fashion line before. It's a lot more than it appeared to be.
Totally. So when I walk through the head side, would that be, and it might not be your exact words, but
I think I don't feel I feel unloved.
Unloved.
Like, not lovable. Like,
yeah,
maybe that's the core thing of
yeah,
it. Therapists don't really like me because, usually you spread it out over like 12, 20, 20 sessions, 5 years, 10 years.
yeah,
I go in and I like vomit it all over them. Like the first session, I'm like, I just got to get it out.
yeah.
Here's everything. And they're like, whew,
How do we unpack this?
well, we'll have to address this next session.
Yeah. So yeah. So here's what I think to focus on. So from the head side, when we're in our head, we feel wrong, we feel alone, you're feeling unloved. That is the particular emotion. It's like, I don't feel loved. I don't feel people, like I love people and I do all these things for them and they're not loving me back, and I'm not feeling, support, all those different things. So from our head, even though you do have people who are supporting all that, I understand that. But when we're in our head, even it doesn't, even if our people are supporting and things are working, when I have to do it on my own and I don't feel worthy and accepted, I don't feel loved, it is heavy regardless. So there's the work of launching this, like the tangible work, which I think from what I'm hearing, you're very good at working and making stuff happen and moving stuff forward. What if the real burden is the mental emotional side, where if you could let go of that, it's still going to be heavy and hard and all that stuff, and it's still, might be challenging, but how you feel about it, regardless of if it moves forward or if it has success really quickly or if it's a slow build or whatever it is, like how you will feel about it will be very different. What are you hearing from that?
Well, what's coming to mind with that is that, maybe I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself because I don't feel enough. And so I feel like if I fell at it, it doesn't go the way I see it should go, or the way I think defines success, then I'm, like, I'm just not enough. Maybe that's it.
Totally. Yeah. And here's what I love about our conversation. So I did that snapshot. I'm like, this is not the depth, because we kept going deeper and deeper. And you said, let's keep going. So we're getting a little bit to more of the root, which is this, is what are my thoughts that, and I'm, if it doesn't do this, or if it doesn't look like that, let me ask, is it respectful to yourself to say, if this doesn't work, then I'm not this, or like, does that make sense? Is that, are those thoughts respectful, that your worth, your value are tied to this project? Is that
It's probably all I know. So in my mind, it does feel respectful because I've accomplished a lot with that thought pattern.
yeah, totally. But
so then you're not feeling worthy unless you're out there accomplishing
Yeah.
and doing, which is why you're doing so much and have done so much. Yeah, probably.
People who are high producers often, if your worth is tied to your success, your production, and people all your whole life will be like, oh my goodness, Robin, look at you, look at what you just did, you are important and valuable, you did this all on your own. You're like, wow, that's how you receive love,
Well,
that's how you receive
Yeah,
acceptance.
and I think it's also alienating at the same time. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
because you're operating at a level that other people aren't relating to, possibly, or the expectations you have for yourself.
well, and I know for a long time, you know, I homeschooled my kids. I stayed home for 19 years. And I was teaching them, you have purpose, you have meaning, you have something to accomplish. And the whole time I'm like, what is mine? Like, I don't even know what mine is, you know? Like, so for a long time, I just stayed home and were with my kids. And I was envious or frustrated with myself more than not necessarily envious, but more frustrated that I didn't know my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I broke free and started accomplishing things, you know, it felt really good, but you know, I could see that maybe that's frustrating for other people who may have be in the situation I was in when I felt like I didn't know what my purpose was.
Yeah.
But you know, I do truly believe that we come here like we don't have to gain our worth, you know? So it's weird because even though I feel sometimes like maybe unworthy, I do believe we came here. We don't have anything that we have to prove to have worth. I do believe that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's just a disconnect with that truth that you know, but then actually applying it to yourself.
Yeah. And that's, it's very normal. So like when, you know, people who, you know, are willing to have these type of conversations that we're having know their worth is not based on performance. And if your experience is different, there's this conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
My heart, I am worthy, period, the end. I don't have to earn my worth. I don't have to hustle my worth. But your head says, you better make sure and produce, because that's when people love you. That's when people tell you your
Can't
worth. And
let people down.
what? Say it again.
You know, I feel like I'm going to let people
Oh,
down. Like
you're
if
gonna
I
let people
don't,
down. Yeah.
if I
And what are
don't
they gonna think of you? Yeah.
produce, if this doesn't turn out the way I want it to turn out, or the way I see it in my head, I'm going to let people down.
Totally. So there's that disconnect. And it's because you've had experiences where your head is protected in that protect mode, that fight or flight, like I got to make this happen. And it can make things happen, but also we don't feel like in our heart worthy and accepted, even though your heart knows that my worth is
Not
is
tied to this.
is not tied to it. So what we're looking at here, let's kind of break it down, which is if I'm not being second commitment, being my best and accepting my best, I don't feel accepted. If I'm being my best, your best is your best. This launch and your best and what it looks like and all those different things like that. There's only so much you can do, and your best is accepted. And are you accepting your best? So let's look at that as you're going through this process with this launch. Can you see how I might not be accepting my best, and therefore I don't feel accepted?
I'm trying to process that. Okay, say it again.
Let's go over this. Yeah, let me say it another way, or do it again. So the main conversation we're having right now, or we've had, is I don't feel, and we've used different words. I feel unloved. I don't feel supported. I don't feel accepted by other people. Any of those words, think of those. And what if the key to feeling loved, connected, accepted wasn't external? It's not out there. They must change. They must accept me. What if it was just, I need to accept my best? I need to accept their best. And if I accept their best and my best, I feel accepted. They don't have to change at all. They don't have to support me. They don't have to be there for me, even though I've been there for them. If I accept their best, even if it's terrible, hey, yeah, I've been there for them a ton. They are not here for me right now, and that's their best. I accept that that's where they're out. I have asked from my heart, here's what I need, here's what I'd like. Will you support me? They've said no. I accept your best. I've accepted my best, which is I've never done this before. I've never launched a fashion line. I've never done any of this, but you know what, whatever, regardless, this is I'm going to do my best. I'm a doer. I'm going to make stuff happen, and I'm going to accept my best. I'm going to accept myself right now. What are you hearing from that?
Well, I think generally, as like my thought process or my belief system is, I do always, I'm pretty good at accepting other people's best, not so much at accepting my best. So I think that's maybe where part of the thing comes, is because I'm like, oh, they got a lot on them, or I haven't I haven't engaged with them enough. So, they haven't, of course, they don't feel like they, need to come because I haven't done anything physically with them in the last 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, on the other hand, I don't know that I do that to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm suggesting is
I
that
give other people grace. I don't give myself a
yeah,
lot of grace.
totally. And that's very common, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to be kind and gentle to other people. Of course I'm respectful to other people and support that. But to myself, I'll look at the mirror and be like, oh, you are so dumb. And how do you do, or I tell myself terrible things that I would never tell my kids, but I say them to myself.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're a human too. It's disrespectful if you say it to you, or if you say it to your kid,
Yeah.
or if you say it to your friend. It doesn't matter. It's disrespectful.
Yeah. It's
And
hard. I have some health issues too. So like
yeah,
I can't always perform at the level that my head wants me to perform.
yeah,
Physically, I have to rest.
yeah,
Physically, I take on too much already. And so like it's hard because like right now we're having a wedding reception, not a wedding reception, a rehearsal dinner for my nephew. Well, my sister-in-law lives in, we're having it at on our property, and my sister-in-law lives in Arizona, and she had a wedding reception for my son, and she worked so hard and did so much. And my husband is working really hard on getting the yard ready and everything ready for her, but like I feel like I haven't done anything, you know what I mean? Like I feel like I haven't been supportive. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That makes complete sense. Let me give you a snapshot of just like, I'm not trying to say these are your thoughts. I'm just saying like let me generalize what most people might think. I want to go through this snapshot so you can see the process.
Okay.
So if someone is hosting something and doing all this, and they have health, I have some health issues that sometimes I can't do things, right? Like, so I'm not going to break. I'll do me. Okay. So I have health issues that sometimes it just knocks me out, and my kids, my wife, everybody does all the stuff. And I feel I'm in my head about it.
Yeah.
I think, cause I'm not being respectful or my best, I think I am such a loser. I'm the dad. I'm the guy who's supposed to do all the heavy. I'm supposed to do doing the heavy lifting of carrying stuff out. And oh yes, thank you, wife, for moving that big thing. I'm sitting here on the couch. I'm gonna direct you. Like I'm just like, what a lose. What, I am so dumb. How stupid is this? Like I can't. I have all these head thoughts. Like you're making your wife do all that stuff, right? Like what kind of man are you? All these things, right?
Yeah.
When I have those thoughts that are not respectful, they are not accepting my best, because my best in that moment is like level 1 or 0 sometimes, but that is my best, and I'm not accepting it. So I feel embarrassed. I feel frustrated. And so what do?
Judge.
I flight. That I'm like, I withdraw. I'm like, oh, poor me. Da, da, da. In my heart, I would think, isn't this amazing that I have a family who loves and supports me when I'm at my weakest? Isn't it amazing that if the roles were reversed, I would absolutely do this for my wife? If she, it might be something different, a completely different thing, I would be there. I would support her. And she's doing that for me. She's telling me she is fine. And she's telling me that she is happy to support me and support our family. And that feels amazing to know that I have people who are willing to do that, even though my best is terrible right now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to acknowledge them. And then when I am feeling better, I'm going to make sure and try to support them in the way they need to be supported. So that's me going through a snapshot when I'm in my head physically. So when you can go through that process over and over and over and recognize like, oh, I'm in my head right now. Because sometimes the words disrespectful or I'm not being respectful or not accepting my best, sometimes it's almost like, oh, well, I'm respectful. Of course I'm respectful. Well, except for when it comes to my thoughts about myself.
Right.
Or I am just disrespectful about other people, but I'm not like to their face. But if someone doesn't show up for me that I've supported them, I'd be like, how dare you? Don't you know what I've done for you? Well, that's disrespectful. That's not accepting their best. And it also might be true.
Well, and I also
Come on.
think in Robin's case, based on what you've said, is that you're making the judgment about what they want to do before you're even giving them a chance, because you're probably not asking for the help, right? Like in many cases, you're assuming that people don't want to help you, so you're not even going to ask, and therefore you're manifesting them not showing up.
Exactly.
Because you just never even get to the point of giving people a chance to show up or come or help.
Yeah, and like I have a family member who has a like if she has a problem with you, she gets so anxious, and it's like if she has something she wants to talk to you about that's uncomfortable, she gets so anxious to talk that she gets really worked up, and then when she approaches you with it, it could be something that you like. This is my sister who I love, but it could be something that would totally not offend me, like not even offend me at all, but because she's so worked up about it, when she comes to me, I'm like, oh, this is offensive. This is obviously offensive if you are so upset over having to tell me about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When really, like, it might be about her not being able to come to something that I have, you know, or not be there when I come home and she's going, her family has their beach trip or whatever, you know, something she has to tell me that she thinks is she feels bad about. And she comes to me, and normally I'd be like, in my head at these moments, I think, I'm not even upset about this, but obviously I feel offended, you know? And so sometimes they think like that when I approach people, I come, oh, you don't really want to do this. I feel like I'm imposing. So of course, like maybe they're picking up on your feeling and then reciprocating that back. Exactly. Mirroring it back.
And I want you to start to recognize, so with this launch, for example, what am I thinking? So I'm about to call someone and ask them to be a part of this. What am I thinking? Is it respectful? Is it respectful to think, oh, they don't want to do this, or they're too busy, or they've got too much on their, like, that's not respectful to put them in that box. I'm not accepting them where they're at. Okay, what if I was completely in my heart, respectfully, I'd think, I think this person's awesome. I'm going to let them know what I'm doing, and I'm going to accept their best and let them know, I would love to have you be a part of this. If it doesn't work, that totally is fine. I just want you to know, I think you're awesome. I think you're great. I think you'd add to it. But I totally get you might not be able to. I'm not tied to the result. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but hey, I want to let you know that this is what's happening. Let me know if you want to be there, because I love and I think you're awesome. Oh, cool. Like that feels way different. And don't, that's my language. You do it your way or however that looks. But what are you hearing from that example? Or
well, it goes a little bit deeper. Sorry, but
I love it.
I feel energy. Like I feel a negative energy, honestly, like between here and here. So there's some kind of negative energy that comes with it that I probably need to clear somehow. I don't know how, but I feel like this negative sick from about here to here.
Okay. You just make it too easy. Just like say, like, I just only if there was a way to clear this. But okay, let's move on. No, wait, let's talk about that.
There is a way.
If only there was a tool. Okay. So what we're doing is part of that tool. Part of the process is what I call pen pondering. You go in my head, you write, I just literally write out in my head on a piece of paper and just start writing. In my head, they're so busy, or they don't want to do this, or they're going to think I'm pushy. And that one time they made this one comment and they think I'm this, and they're going to da-da-da. You feel all the head emotions. You emotionally vomit. This is terrible. They hate me. This is going to end in disaster. They're going to think I'm all that stuff. And eventually, once it's all out, you will just naturally go to your heart. And you go, in my heart, I am going to just share. And I'm not worried whether they make it, or if they can make it, great. But if they can't, their best is accepted. It might not work. I am not going they will not feel their arm turn. They will know that I want them to be there. And you're from your heart, all the heart stuff comes out. Get all the head stuff out, heart stuff. Okay. And then after all that's done, you can do what we just did, which is a snapshot. And Callie will give you the worksheet, but you just go through, not being respectful and best, I think. And then, oh, this is the key thought I had about them. They are too busy, or they can't do this, or whatever. That's not
They
respectful. I
don't
feel
value me.
this.
Mhm.
What?
Or they don't value me, or they don't value
Oh
our
yeah, they don't
friendship, or
value me,
they don't.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's a little deeper, right? Not just they're just, they don't value me, and that feels frustrating.
Sure.
I feel less than. So what do? I don't talk to them. In my heart, I think I I'm going to connect with them. I feel like this could be opportunity for us to connect, and I don't know where. And wait, the reality might be we are a little estranged, and we don't have a great relationship, and that's okay. And from your heart, you do the snapshot, what we've been doing. So that's the key. Is like when I'm in my head, what if I could just take it and go from my head to my heart? And it worked every time. Our bodies heal us. It works. Our bodies, if it has what it needs, it will heal, right? Our conscience will heal us. It will guide us. That light within us will let us know. It'll bring up, hey, this is the thought you're thinking that's unhealthy. Hey, this is the root of where it is. This, eventually I do that one thing about them, and I'm like, where did this come from? If I ask using my mind, my heart, my conscience, it's like, well, this first happened when you're a little kid. And then you go through the same process. Feel this. Well, I can't believe this person did this to me, and they're so terrible, and they shut down a small child. How dare they? Oh, they're the worst. Blah, head. Then you go to the heart. Okay, I wonder what they were experiencing. Maybe I misunderstood that. What is the truth? That painful emotion, when they were terrible to me, was actually telling me one thing. What they're doing is disrespectful. The thoughts you're having right now are disrespectful. They are not for you. They're not healthy. It'd be like drinking sour milk. The milk is not saying something's wrong with me. My body's broken. I can't drink milk anymore. It's saying this is poison milk. Get it out. That the thoughts I had when that terrible thing happened were telling me this is not for you. You are worth of value. Don't feed yourself this. Don't relive this over and over. This is unhealthy. This is not for you. What are you hearing from that?
Um, I just think, like, I don't know.
I feel like that's when we start to recognize that line of thinking, we get to make a choice to change our thoughts.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we have to set boundaries, even with other people,
Yeah.
right? Because if we're in situations where we're being hurt or offended and whatnot, that is the choice that we can make, is have a boundary. Or we get to just change the way we're thinking about that situation when we can. Sometimes we can fix it through just changing, getting out of our head and into our heart. And then sometimes we just have to stop with the boundary.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from like my experiences through my life, probably, where I have felt like not included or not wanted
Yeah.
or whatever. And I think when you come to peace with, that's okay. Like, I'm okay if they didn't want me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay if I wasn't chosen. Um,
Yeah.
because like even some of it, could be like just childhood friendships or
Oh,
childhood things you grew up with. But then you look now and you're like, would I have, like, if had I not been put in a situation where I went to school with this person for X amount of time, would I be friends with them now anyway? You know what I mean? So then maybe if you can let go of things that happen and realize, sometimes people are put in circles who you wouldn't have chosen to be in your circle. But as you get to be an adult, you get to choose who, mostly unless it's at work, in a work environment. And even that time you can choose to leave, but who you want in your circle. So maybe like looking back, you could think, well, those people hurt me, but would I even want them in my circle now? You know what I mean? Like, are they I don't know, living to the standards of, treating people kindly or whatever. Would I have chosen them as an adult to be in my circle,
And even can you let go of whatever hurt that happened as a child, recognizing that, oh, they might have been doing their best
Right.
with their upbringing, with their training, with where they were at.
Absolutely.
And when we're younger, we're not understanding this language. We don't know how to just accept their best. But as an adult, we can go back and heal that by just accepting, well, they were doing the best they could at
Yeah.
that point,
Mhm.
and not attach our worth to those situations that happen. And I think that's part of your process, Johnny, where at least I think of it this way, of getting present,
Mm.
where we're letting go of the hurts and pains of the past, any regrets that are back there, and we're not worrying about the future, but we're just really in the present of, okay, well, how do I feel about that now? And I think when we get super present, that's when we can release and let go and accept people's best from the past.
Right. I think part of it is just like a lot of these things you just sort of like stuff down
Mm.
and you keep stuffing it down and you don't even think about like could that have affected me, but like as we're talking I'm thinking like what what happened that made me feel this way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden all these thoughts of hurtful layers of different situations, I thought I knew right when we first started where it came from, what part of my childhood it came from. And it wasn't even that bad of a part of my childhood. It was just my mom grew up poor.
Mm.
She didn't have a bathroom in her house. She never ate in a restaurant until she was 12. I mean, she grew up very, very poor, but she was a pretty girl and she was popular. And so it was always hard for her because you know, she wanted to be enough for everyone else, right?
Mm.
And I remember her telling me a story that when she was a senior, she got voted to be on the homecoming court, but she didn't want to win because she knew she wouldn't have a dress.
Mm.
And so she worked, my whole childhood because she wanted me to never feel that way.
Mm.
But with that work came me being raised by by a person who stayed at home with me, and fortunately, I mean, she never put me in, I was still able to stay in my home, but my mom was gone a lot. And I thought originally, like a lot of this probably stemmed from that. But as you're talking, like I remember little tiny things that had like reconfirmed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like one time I sat beside somebody at a birthday party and they ran away and sat somewhere else, like I had cooties or
Yeah.
something. And then I remember once, I was playing and some of my friends ran away when I turned my back and left me there, and you remember things like that. And that I think not acknowledging those little things and being like
It's
you
okay,
said,
just brushing it on, not really.
or not even think about it.
Mhm.
So you're not processing it at all. Where if you pull it back up and then you think, how did this make me feel? Why, how can I accept those people at their
Mm.
best? You know what I mean? And I didn't mean like maybe I wouldn't want to be with them, but maybe their best is not like what their best could be is not what my standard is for myself and for how I choose other people. And that's where boundaries are important because maybe the best that someone else could treat someone is not where my standard of best is. And so, that is when you don't want to let those kind of
Right.
people, you can be kind and you can be forgiving, but it doesn't mean you have to let them in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is very empowering to know that and understand that.
And so it's amazing because you're right now on the fly, which I hope people can see. Your conscience, your heart is bringing up and saying, "Hey, well, look at this, look at that. Hey, work through this. If you take this through the process, then you can know that time where they stood up and ran away from you. You think, well, I'm an adult. Come on, kids don't sit by other people, or what? I'm an adult. I understand logically. Okay, whatever. No,
They
like,
were six. Yeah.
yeah,
You can,
like,
as an
yeah,
adult, you can let
as
that
an adult,
go.
you can say, like, oh, I'm not, I don't hold on to this. No, it's as if you were a 6-year-old when it happened. You are feeling the same emotions as if you were a 6-year-old around that. There are the same emotions. So until I am willing to say, okay, this experience where they didn't want to sit by me, I think, oh, I must not be lovable. What's wrong
I'm
with
not in the
me? Nobody
cool
likes me.
group.
That feels terrible. I feel embarrassed, frustrated. So what do? I withdraw. Now, from my heart, I think I have no idea if she moved because of everything I just said, or if the cake was over there, or if a new thing happened, or if maybe we weren't friends, and that's okay because like I'm not. You don't have to be friends anyway. Whatever. All those like. And how does that feel? I feel peace because I don't have to have that six-year-old
anymore.
experience,
Mhm.
affect me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that people feel warmed and welcomed. So because the whole process, and what we realize is this, like kind of use an analogy. So our five senses protect us and progress us, right? Taste, touch, all these things. We are very clear on what they mean. Taste, this is disgusting. It's, moldy, spit it out, right? Touch, don't touch that hot stove. It is very painful. Those messages are saying, protect yourself, your value. Don't eat this, don't touch that. Emotionally, we don't understand the message. When you have a thought, she doesn't like me, something's wrong with me. That painful feeling is saying, this thought is painful, it's touching the hot stove, don't do it. This is unhealthy. It's not saying it's true. She ran away from me. It's not, maybe she did, but the painful feeling behind it is saying, this is unhealthy. And if I can recognize my whole life, I've never understood my experiences, just like my five senses. What if my sense of conscience, what if even with all my experience and background and knowledge and self-development, what if I really haven't understood what the messages were telling me? Wouldn't it be amazing if I could go and relive those experiences, understanding exactly what it was telling you, which is, hey, this thought about yourself is unhealthy. That's it. You're of such worth that this thought is not for you. You are of worth, so don't have this thought. Your best is accepted. You're not accepting your best. It doesn't feel good to not accept your best. Accept your best. So if you understood what your conscience was telling you, then it wouldn't be a painful experience. Even if, not that there's no pain, it might be painful, like, oh, they don't want to sit by me. That
Well,
doesn't feel
it's
good.
really not painful anymore. But, I think the thing that's coming to my mind right now is what would you tell your child?
Yeah,
Like if a little snotty kid was like, "Ooh, you got cooties," and ran away,
yeah,
what would you tell your child? No, you are beautiful. They would have been lucky to have you for a friend. They're just a little twerp. You know what I mean? Like, what would you tell your child? But instead of saying that to my 6-year-old self, I said, "Oh, you're not one of the cool kids. Oh, they view you as being
yeah,
icky." You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
like I put all these things on myself. But if I went back to that 6-year-old child and I thought of me at 6 years old, like I would think of one of my children, it would be a whole
Totally.
different message that I would give
Totally.
myself.
That's what we've
Here,
got to give ourselves now as we go through this process, that same love, respect that we would a little adorable. I mean, I can just imagine how adorable you were at 6. Had a lot of curly hair.
So, yeah, and I've been through this exercise before where you write down stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a note to your younger self. Like, what would you tell your younger self? And people in the room were just like bawling because you love that young child like you do love your children. And like, you're so proud of her. You're
Mhm.
proud of how hard she's fought and how, okay, now I'm going to cry, but how hard she's fought and how much she's accomplished and how kind she is and how far she's come.
Yeah, you would accept her best at that time, just and accept your best now. And I appreciate you sharing your emotions with us, because it's courageous to share our emotions, and really you're sharing your heart, your depth. So thank you for being willing to open up, and not this whole process, this whole conversation, and with your emotions. Because the truth is this: you are worthy. Period. The end. And I know you logically know that.
Well, I teach
And
this stuff myself.
of course,
But we
of
all
course.
need
But you
to.
still have to work to do, and
Yes.
it's a constant work. Like you
And
can't say, "Oh, it's all good. I'm good now," because you need to constantly be working on
Yeah.
yourself.
and the way
Like,
to do it is to bring up a previous experience, just like you did.
um,
Go through it as if you were 6 years old. You made a comment like, "Well, it's not painful now." Well, no, it is painful now. You're in adult mode right now. But if you were to pull out a pen and paper and become a 6-year-old and write about that, you might cry, you might be angry, you might feel there is painful emotion behind that. To
right,
feel it all as if you're 6 years old, because I mean, a 6-year-old, like someone doing that is just like your best friend betraying you or something, like in real life now, like, or someone spreading a rumor like, oh, I don't know, something. It's way bigger than what it was as a 6-year-old. So as a 6-year-old, to feel those emotions, go through it, go to your heart, and then to recognize, if I'm willing, my conscience will over and over, if I ask, it will tell me what experience to process, to work through. I can take it through this process over and over and over.
Oh,
I can do it present right now. Oh, I'm doing this launch. Where am I in my head? I don't feel supported. Head, heart. Okay, I have people who support me. I am of worth, regardless of what happens. Oh wait, but I also feel go. And when I'm willing to not only do the present, I can go back and saying, where else is this coming from? And you're already very good at this, right? You're like, oh, it was this time when I was 6 years old, and it was this time, and like you can go through to where knowing you're of worth is not just most of the time and many times. It's like my natural baseline is anytime I have a thought that's unhealthy and I don't feel good, I'm like, oh, this is not for me. This is weird. Like this is and maybe an example would be with food, right? If someone eats very healthy, if they eat one thing that's unhealthy, they're like, oh, that didn't sit well.
mm-hmm.
Where someone like me, I'm like, oh, I eat terrible stuff all the time. I don't feel bad if I eat that. Where someone is really healthy, they feel like, oh man, like I feel terrible after eating that. So to increase our best and our ability to process and work through this. So
That's
yeah,
a
what
great
do you?
analogy.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced both sides of that, where I've eaten healthy and I eat something bad or sugar, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I feel terrible. And then there's other times when I'm really bad at eating, I'm like, I can eat anything.
We're off the bandwagon.
I'm not sensitive to it. So what if your whole life, my whole life, all of our whole lives, we have misunderstood what we've experienced. We have not used our conscience as our guide. We've used our head as our guide. And we've, yes, used our head to protect and our heart to progress in many ways. But I haven't understood, just like I misunderstood, touching a hot stove, what it means. And if that's the case, those painful feelings are not bad feelings. They're just a message. When I feel a painful emotion, I'm like, ooh, I got to look at something's going on. I'm excited to figure out what's happening. Like, why am I doing this? Now, not all the time. I sometimes I'm normal and get in my head. I'm like, I'm in my head and I'm frustrated, somebody I love. And yeah, but when I can really dig down, I'm like, where's this coming from? Why is this happening? I have misunderstood what's happened. And I'm going to ask my conscience. It'll tell me, and I'm going to work through that. Oh, I'm afraid to share my message, or I'm afraid to post this or do this because of this experience I had when I was in 5th grade. Oh, wow. I didn't even remember that. I didn't even know I had that experience, but now I remember it, and then I work through it. So what are you hearing from that?
Um, well, I was thinking about my own stuff. I think that was actually like doing your process in another situation that I'm going through that's really hard. And, and I'm in a situation where like I'm dealing with someone who I feel like is disrespectful and hurtful to me. And, like processing just while you were talking, like I was processing because I've really struggled with this situation, like because it's very impactful on my life. And I, like finally just came to the decision that it's okay for me to say, I can't do this position because I working with this person is not making me feel good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the boundary aspect
Mm-hmm.
of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not help, not making me feel good about myself, but it's not a healthy emotional situation for me to be in, to work in this environment. And I can't do it anymore. So it was interesting.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So you're already doing this process. I can hear it. I can, and I'm hoping to give you specific language, frameworks, tools. So where it's like automatic, like, oh, I'm in my head. Oh, pull out the pen and paper, oh, in my heart again. Right.
Well, I'm
Do I need,
sold.
Well,
I'm coaching. Yes.
well, and letting your conscience guide you, because I think we just witnessed that happen, where her conscience helped her to see and bring that up, and you were.
Well, I've really been struggling. I've really been, that last thing we are talking about, it's been a huge struggle because commitment is very important to me. If I've committed to something, I want to follow through. But part of it has gone against like my conscience because I known the interaction has not been a healthy situation for me. So I've really been struggling with this one scenario for a while, and it was really interesting to finally find the words because I like look lots of ways to say I'm not doing this if this is the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? And I've looked at it, or I'm just not doing it, period. And now I feel like I actually have the words to say, you know, this is not a healthy environment for me. And if it's going to remain this way, then I'm going to resign because I don't want, that my life is more valuable than putting myself in this situation.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's being respectful to yourself and
well, my conscience has been
Yeah.
telling me, you know,
Yeah.
and I love that. I love that you're learning that skill and coming into that power and claiming it. It's a beautiful
Totally.
thing.
This specific experience, my recommendation is go through this process. If you choose to say I'm stepping away from this, do it after you've done all the head to heart work where you feel worthy and accepted. You see this person who's been so disrespectful to you as worthy and accepted. You accept their best, you accept your best, you do all the head to heart work, you go from you're aligned with your conscience, and then you choose. And this is not good for me, this is not healthy, this is not where my vision is, my mission, that's on that one. Great. Or hey, after all that work, here's what we need to change for me to be a part of it. Here's what it's going to look like. Great. The change happens. It's great.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
like, this is what it needs to look like. So either one of those, my recommendation, and once again, I'm here to support you to like, you're amazing at diving in. You're already doing the process, like on the fly, like I'm sharing stuff. You're like, I'm actually just working through something else. I'm like, yeah, love that. Right.
She's very advanced.
Like doing
So what's
it, man.
wrong with me? I got like lots of compartments and
You're doing it,
and they're
right?
all spinning at the
So,
same time.
because the number one thing, if I want to work with somebody, I'm like, I ask for one thing. Are you willing? If you're willing to go to keep the 3 commitments anytime you're not, you go through the process, it's going to work. It works every time. The process is not, I mean, yeah, I organize this stuff, but I didn't invent it. I didn't like make it like, these are just the principles. And I like, why can't I work out my stuff and get out of my head? And I got to figure out how to do this and make it simplified and clear so that I can share it with you and Robin, then you can share it with your kids and you can mentor other people, and like it's duplicatable. So it's our process. All 3 of us, and this is why I'm here with Callie. When I followed up with Callie, whatever, 7 years later, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm using it this way," and I'm like, "Oh, like we're twins. We both do the same thing. Our families, like let's do something together, right?" Like I love that. Like so now all 3 of us, like we're doing this process. Let's support each other. Let's keep doing the process and help each other and other people so that we understand what we're experiencing, so that our baseline is worthy and accepted. Even though mentally we know that, like the way we feel baseline. When someone's terrible to us, it's like, oh, I'm worthy, I'm accepted. That doesn't feel good in that moment, but it doesn't shift my whole experience.
Yes.
So you're killing it. I love it.
Well, thank you. So I think on this, we'll wrap this up and just, again, thank you so much, Johnny, for your coaching and your willingness, and Robin for you sharing and being vulnerable and real. Isn't she lovely and amazing? And I hope it's been worthwhile for you, our listeners, whether you've been here with us live, thank you for being here, whether you catch the replay. Thank you for being willing, because that's
and I'm worthy. So if you're judging me on any of this stuff, I just say I am worthy.
and we're accepting the best, right? Yeah. Well, and it takes courage. It's been, I've shared with everyone, it's been a process of courage for me to do this and step forward, and
I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
And I love that you're bringing light to the world. Like that is what, the only thing, I love the Martin Luther King quote, darkness can't drive out darkness, only light can do that.
I love that. I love that. And that's what we want to bring, is we want to bring light to you, and we want you to feel worthy and accepted and a part of our community. We want you to feel chosen, and that we want to sit by you. All those things we want you to feel, and join our tribe and our sisterhood, and just share that light and share that love as we want you to just feel like you're in the right place, because we love you, and you're beautiful just the way you are. So thank you for being here. Please use this head to heart process. And we have 4 more weeks of this. So each week, come back and join us as you get to experience this live. And hopefully, as you're watching us go through this, that you're thinking in your head about the things that you need to heal and the ways that you need to use your own intuition and your own conscience as a guide to get out of your head into your heart, where you can move forward with courage and faith and purpose and love. And again, just thank you for being here, and stay pretty. We'll catch you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.